Shanti, how are you? The whole world mourns for the massive earthquake that hits Turkey, which started on February 6 early morning at 4 a.m. But it still continues. It is witnessing earthquake after earthquake. It's been 5 earthquakes till now, and also it is followed by hundreds of aftershocks. Around 6,000 buildings were collapsed, and more than 5,000 people were confirmed dead so far, but it is still expected to rise. Around 45 nations have promised help to both Syria and Turkey, which were most damaged by these earthquakes. It is horrible sight to see both dead ones and live ones trapped inside the rubbles. And in one side, a baby was found born, and the mother was found dead. Also, there was a miracle in a 4-story building, and nobody survived except one particular family that was in the 3rd floor. So, on feeling the severe tremors, the husband picks up his wife and children, started to go to the entrance, and he was hit by a door, and it is that door actually protected the whole family from dying due to the collapse of that building. There's been ongoing conflict for the past 12 years between the Syrian government and the opposition groups. So that itself has damaged all the infrastructures, so it is going to be very difficult for the rescue team to get into Syria and rescue the people from the rubbles. Even in Turkey, the area where this major earthquake happens is actually a home for most of the Syrian refugees. What makes the rescue process worse is the chilling weather. Though the whole world is ready to offer help in terms of shelter and food for Turkey people, but still there is absolutely no cure for the pain they have to endure due to loss of their family members. It seems for the past few years, the Mother Nature is waging a horrible war against humans, especially last year and this year, especially from pandemic. Though it seems we have absolutely no control over these natural calamities, it is us, the actions that we performed is actually the reason for these natural calamities to happen, especially the sinful actions. So it is highly impossible for us to have control over the whole world, because everybody is going to think different, act different, and they're going to perform more and more sinful actions. We have absolutely no control over them to stop them. But there is one thing we have full control of, that is ourselves. If we are able to restrain ourselves from performing any more sinful actions, then you may not save the world from natural calamities, but guess what? You will be saved as an individual from these natural calamities. I know it is unbelievable, but still that's the truth. Because these 5 elements of nature, it attacks humans mainly because of the negative vibrations we put out through producing negative thoughts. So by negative thoughts, I mean all the thoughts relating to lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. It is under the influence of these 5 vices that we create those negative thoughts that impacts the atmosphere by creating negative vibrations, and that is the actual reason for these natural calamities. That's going to be the reason for the destruction of the whole world as well. So that is bound to happen, because apart from what we know about the reason of the earthquakes, which is the movement of tectonic plates, but though we know the reason, there is absolutely nothing we can do to stop it. So what's the benefit of knowing it when you have absolutely no control over it? But on the other hand, you have absolutely full control over your karma. So I'd like to bring you the example of a biblical story where Abraham was having a conversation with God while God was revealing that he was about to destroy the hometown of Lot, because the town was filled with sinners, especially homosexuals. So Abraham asked, what if the town has 100 good people free of any kind of sin? Will you still destroy that town? God replies, no. Then Abraham asks, what if there are only 50 good people? Even then God says, no, I wouldn't destroy. Then Abraham asks, what if there is only 5 good people in the entire town? God says, even then I will not destroy. Which means you are not going to suffer because of these natural calamities or any bad situations if you are good. God will protect you. Nowadays, nobody differentiates between right and wrong. That's the reason, because everybody thinks that we are not committing any sin, but we are committing sin every second. Because if you are seeing somebody lustfully, it is a sin. If you have anger even towards your own kid, it is still a sin. If you have attachment to your family, your nation, your religion, whatever it is, the attachment itself is a sin. Now, can you say that I have never sinned? If we produce negative thoughts and perform negative actions, which results in the negative vibrations around us, which ultimately leads to these natural calamities to happen, what if you create only positive thoughts, thereby positive vibrations around us? That's going to calm down the Mother Nature. Although it is common to call nature to be the mother, in reality it is not our mother. We are the mother of nature. Nature is our child, is our creation. It is because we become negative, our creation becomes negative and acts aggressively. If we become so lovingly, Mother Nature will also turn so lovingly to us. As I mentioned earlier, right from childhood, we are conditioned to develop negative thoughts, even in the form of textbooks, where we study about history is nothing but revolution and so on. So it is all about having quarrel, fighting for the right. Though it looks positive, it is actually negative. For example, what do you think is the reason or the root cause for this 12-year-old conflict that's happening in Syria? It all started with a 14-year kid who wrote on his school wall a slogan against the government. So the police took him and they tortured him. When the parents requested the police to leave him, the police responded by saying that you should forget your kid, you can go and make your own kids. If you can't, send your girls to us. So this provoked the public. So they formed small groups, started protesting, and it continued for around 45 days. Then the government decided to leave the child, but the child after release was in so pathetic condition, full of blood all over his body, so that provoked them more, and they staged a peaceful protest. Now the government got even more angry, and they deployed military, and there was a massive shooting that led many dead. So then several groups formed throughout the country, and they started protesting, and government they started cracking them down, and it goes on and on. And guess what, it's been 12 years, still there is no end to that conflict. Now, so people wanted to protect that one child. What happened as a result is the loss of millions of Syrian lives. So that's the power of Satan. It looks as if you are protesting for good, but protesting itself is bad, no matter whatever reason you hold it, but still it is bad. Even if you have anger towards your own child, it is still a sin. But that's the reason, because nobody teaches us to differentiate between right and wrong. That's the main reason the world is suffering in the form of poverty, variety of diseases, natural calamities, and war. Just to save us from the consequences of our past sins that we have been committing for the past births, God Himself has come just 100 years before the destruction of this world. He enters an old man body, and He gives him the name Brahma, and he starts giving the teachings called Murli, which is available absolutely free of cost in all Brahma Kumaris Rajog meditation centers that is spread across the globe. So the essence of God's teachings is you need to consider yourselves to be the souls, to be the imperishable soul that is distinct from this perishable body. Body gets destroyed, the soul doesn't. It leaves this body and takes another body. So it undergoes several rebirths. But in the beginning, God created this world as heaven. So the heaven lasted for the first 2500 years, where there is absolute blissfulness and peacefulness, and we were so rich that we lived in homes made of golden bricks. So that should say how rich we were in the beginning. The reason for that is we were not committing any sins, because the root cause of all sins is body consciousness. But in heaven, we were soul conscious. We considered ourselves to be the soul that performs all actions with the help of this body. So we are given this body basically to make our dreams come true. That's it. But we are not this body. We were aware of it in the beginning for the first 2500 years, which is why we did not have even a trace of any of these five vices: lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. So we were blissful all the time, basically because our concentration was within ourselves, that is, towards the soul. The very nature of the soul itself is blissfulness, and that is the reason we were not attracted to anything that is external to us, even though it was actually heaven, even though everything we see gives nothing but happiness. But still we were not influenced by the beauty, because we were getting happiness from within, which is the main reason we did not perform any sinful acts, including lust. But yes, children were born, but not out of lust. It is when couple have the thought of having a children, the wife gets pregnant, and not out of lust. They don't even get disturbed by the beauty of the opposite sex although they were very beautiful. After all, it's heaven and they are deities. And it is because they were so pure that Hindus worship till date those residents of heaven in the form of deities in Hindu temples. And God reveals the secret that this world was for the first 2500 years heaven, and it is hell for the last 2500 years, and within few years, in the matter of 10 to 15 years, this world is going to be converted to heaven again. And this world destruction just opens the door to heaven. So that will happen for sure. But what we are not sure of is whether or not we will be able to take birth in heaven. But it is up to you. If you make effort to become as pure as we were in heaven, then you are sure to take birth in the beginning of heaven itself, and we can enjoy 2500 years in heaven. All we need to do to enter heaven right from the beginning is to make ourselves completely pure using a very simple method. All we need to do is to consider ourselves to be the souls by repeating it within our mind that we are the souls that look through the eyes. It is the soul that speaks through the mouth. It is the soul that performs actions through this body. So you need to keep on saying this to yourself, so that your mind gets this truth deeply imbibed within it, so that it continues even after leaving this body. So that is how we enter heaven, because in heaven everybody there is soul conscious. How is that possible? Because it actually, the habit of considering ourselves to be the soul in the last 500 years gets transferred to the next birth. Although we don't remember anything that happened in our past births, but still the quality or the characters that gets transferred birth after birth. It is because our character gets degraded day by day. That's the main reason how this world, which was heaven in the beginning, becomes hell at the end of 5000 years. Now we have a mammoth task in front of us. What is that? So the world is going to witness several earthquakes, several floods, several unimaginable destruction before the world gets completely destructed. All we need to do is, we can't be there everywhere to help every one of them, but we can spread positive vibrations to any part of the world, from you being in any corner of the world. How do you do that? All the world needs at the time of the world destruction is peace, because they just can't get over those negative thoughts that resulted due to the loss of their loved ones, loss of their properties. So people have absolutely no control over their mind now. That's why they can't imagine themselves without being in front of a mobile phone or television, mainly because they have no idea to keep it peaceful without the help of external devices. But in the end, as it happens in Turkey, we will be encountering situations where there is absolutely no technology available, where there is no current available, where there is no police station, where there is no court, no hospitals. So think of the trauma that we will be facing during those situations. It is because we are constantly hypnotizing ourselves by going through the mobile screens. We do not know the real capacity of our mind. So that's why God asks us to consider ourselves to be souls and to remember God as a point of light as much as possible. Not only that, we need to detach ourselves from the external world. We should stop listening, seeing, hearing, speaking, thinking about what's happening in the world, because that's going to trigger those five vices within you, and you want to put an end to it. So, in addition to considering yourselves to be the soul and thinking of God as a point of light as much as possible, and also by reading the knowledge of God called Murli, which is available absolutely free of cost in all Brahmakumaris Rajyog meditation centers. You can also Google it to find Murli in your own language. In addition, you need to spread peaceful vibrations, positive vibrations, powerful vibrations to the whole world, because it is when they come in contact with the positive vibrations, their mind start realizing that they are already in hell, they are already committing more and more sins, which is the reason for the suffering they are enduring. So they will turn to God. So how do you spread vibrations to the whole world? The first step is for you to remain peaceful. If you yourselves can't remain peaceful, then how can you give peace to the whole world? So how do you remain peaceful when you see your whole own family members being killed by natural calamities or by some people? Do you think you can remain peaceful? If you can, then it is true that your soul is more powerful. But in reality, the nature of all souls now is weak. So we need to strengthen our souls by remembering only God as a point of light, and also by establishing all relationships only with God. Only God should be your father, mother, friend, brother, relative, everything. All relationships only with God. If you are able to do that, if you live with God wholeheartedly, what will happen is you will consider your family members to be someone like a neighbor. You no longer consider them to be a part of your family. Although you live there, although you do you are fulfilling your responsibilities to them, you don't consider them to be your family members. So that's how when you see them getting killed right in front of your eyes, you don't actually get disturbed. Of course, you will do your best to save them, but you don't get attached to them. As a result, you don't suffer. It would be similar to how those first responders rescue the people from the rubbles in this earthquake. They have love for them, but they don't get attached to them. If they find someone dead, they're not going to cry because they are not attached. So God wants us to experience that stage even with your family members. Only then you can remain peaceful even at those deadly situations, because in those deadly situations people need peace. If everybody is peaceless during that time, who is going to give them peace? So that's why God is enabling us to fill ourselves with the power of peace. How do you achieve that? By remembering only God no matter what happens around you. So by equipping yourself with the yogic power to remain peaceful no matter what happens around you, it is going to be very easy for you at the time of stress to spread peace to those who need it so badly. Not only that, it is by imbibing the habit of spreading peace every second, the nature becomes so lovingly by experiencing the peaceful vibrations that is sent from you. As a result, it is going to remain faithful even at the time of natural calamities. Even when your place is hit by a severe natural calamity, the miracle will happen, as I mentioned, with that family that was saved by a door. You will also be protected by the five elements because you haven't sent negative vibrations before. So it is by sending positive vibrations as much as possible, by being in remembrance of God, this nature will remember that and will serve as a protective shield during the time of intense natural calamities. So that is something we are going to have absolute control of. After all, it is our creation. It is our thoughts that has made nature to behave so wildly. Now it is our thoughts in a positive way that's going to make the nature behave so lovingly. But anyway, this world destruction is predetermined because that's how the world is going to become heaven. It is only after the destruction of this sinful world that pure blissful heaven is going to be established. So when you are very much practiced in spreading vibrations to the whole world, you will be able to have visions of some natural calamity that happens somewhere far away from you. You can actually see them as if it's happening right before you, so that you can spread peaceful vibrations to the people suffering there. You can start practicing now itself, because everybody in Ukraine, Pakistan and Turkey and Syria needs it now. So start practicing it now itself. It doesn't take you any pain, because the more you indulge in the practice of spreading peaceful vibrations to the world, you are going to become more and more fresh. You are going to experience blissfulness from within, because you are going to do it by being in soul consciousness, because the true nature of the soul itself is blissfulness. So what we achieve by doing these things is nothing but blissfulness. But just think for a second, the effort people takes now to rescue the people in Turkey. They have to endure this chilling weather. There won't be electricity, there won't be any basic necessities. So they have to tolerate all of these things. Compared to that, what we are doing is nothing in terms of effort, but the attainment due to the act of spreading peacefulness is enormous. You are going to remain happy no matter what happens around you. And not only that, when the world becomes heaven, you are going to take birth in heaven, going to enjoy the world that is absolutely free of any trace of sorrow or pain for the next 2500 years. So keep your mind busy in remembrance of God and spreading peaceful vibrations throughout the world, and also enable others by giving this knowledge to do the same. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching.